Hey guys, welcome back to the Interceptor. We are here with Alliance War Season 55, Number 3, and AOH has matched up against XK9. So this is a bit of a rough matchup with us being 0-2 because obviously these guys did finish on the podium last season. They finished third overall out of all alliances. So we do know that we have to play well. And we have Path 8 Section 1, and we're going over to Path 3 Section 2 this war. We have Gambit for the first two fights. I could really just bring anyone I wanted, and this is who I chose to bring. So I'm pretty happy with that. Unfortunately, in this fight, we are going to make one big mistake, where here I'm going to throw my L3. Had I waited and I had just blocked, parried, and it pushed him into a second life with a combo because he was only at 8%, I would have started the ticking actually earlier, and then because my L3 would have done over 100% of his health, I could have just thrown it instantly as soon as his SIG ability degen started triggering. I don't know why at this point in the fight I'm going to dash back and try to get my charges back. It's not like I need another special attack. But yeah, I did. Just wasting fight time, I guess. But this war's not going to come down to fight time. We're going to combo here, and the striker's actually going to finish it off. So, yeah. Very easy fight. One small mistake by me, and I don't even know why I did it. It was just such a dumb mistake. And we're good. So, next fight here, we have Killmonger. We're using Gambit for this as well. We just basically need our L2 to crit, and if it does, he dies. With max boosts and a rank 3 Gambit, that's going to be enough. So here, we're getting some charges while we wait for him to throw a heavy attack. Unfortunately, I am going to trap myself in the corner, and there is timing for you to counter in between his two hits of the heavy, and I do it right here, but unfortunately the first time I just messed it up. Here, at this point, I realize it's probably not smart to go for another prowess, so we're just going to bank on 9 being enough prowess, and the second L2 is going to kill because we finally get a crit on the L2. Now, Killmonger is a champion with crit resistance, so you are less likely to get crits on L2, but it's not like a massive reduction in crit resistance, so that makes sense. So for the rest of our fights on my main, we are going to swap off suicides, and we are going over to Path 3 Section 2. We have one pretty slow fight with Terrax, and then we have one fight with Stealthy. When I was originally assigned this war, I was actually assigned 6 fights on my main and 6 fights on my alt. However, due to the fact that I had Stealthy without Scorpion, I thought it might be a little bit safer to switch to Luke Cage for those 2 Stealthy fights, and because my alt account did not have any fights on those mini islands, or I guess the one mini island, I did decide to make the swap. So after my path fights are done, that is going to be it for my alt. So I did take up Terrax to rank 2 specifically in case I ever had to take path 3 this tactic. And, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Terrax. I'm not... just the matchups that he has to take aren't really matchups I want to be doing. But when it's one little fight like this, it doesn't really bother me that much. And here, she is going to throw the L1 into my block, but to be fair, I had just dashed back a second before, so it's not really that shocking. I am going to try to push to the L2, but I believe we're just going to end up... So, right there, I don't know why, but I hesitated in between one of my combo hits, and it actually triggered a well-timed block for her, which activated her miss for her openings, which is normally used on offense. But I don't know why I hesitated there. But again, we do have an invuln boost on. I turn on the invuln boost for the next fight, but yeah, it's active here too. Just trying to get her to not throw a special, and we are doing quite a lot of damage during this. We are going to need one more rock field because at this point I can't hit her any longer. I also realized after I entered this war that I forgot to put a striker on Terrax, but to be fair, it's one fight against 6-star. I'm not super worried, and Viv Vision, nothing can really go wrong if you just push to the L2. So here we're going to throw our L1, and she is going to go down right here. Right there. Yeah, okay, there we go. So pretty normal fight, pretty easy. We'll go on to our last fight here. We have this Longshot. None of the nodes are going to do anything for Longshot, so it's just a big health Longshot duel. And I don't know why I choose to play this fight the way that I do, but for some reason, I just make the stupid decision to go to L2 before L1. And I kind of understand what I was thinking because I don't have Scorpion to pause my slow, but at the same time, I could have just used my L1 as a knockdown, which is guaranteed with the Withers to inflict slow. So I don't know why I'm playing this the way that I am. I'm literally just selling on fight time. Even at this point, it would have been faster if I just went to the L1. But yeah, we're going to get our L2 off, put on some longer slows, and here we're going to probably use... Okay. Here we're going to end with a light attack. That is our last slow, but I know the way that Stealthy's damage works, and I know that Longshot will be long dead before that slow expires. We throw off our L1 to get the precision up, something I should have done a long time ago. I don't know why I chose to make this fight harder than it needed to be, but it's okay. It's okay. He is going to go down. We were never in any danger. Unfortunately, because Stealthy's first medium attack is a double medium, you don't have time to dash in after the L1 and then dex it or even block it. You will get hit if you try to do that. Trust me, I know because I've tried. And so we're just dashing back and waiting for it to end. But that is it for the fights on my main. I did move up to one of the fights to give my alt account some energy, but we are moving on to my alt now. We have Path 5, Section 1 over to Path 2, Section 2. We have 7 Luke Cage fights and 1 alt. Is that right? Or is it 6 and 2? No, it's 6 and 2. It's 6 Luke Cage fights, 2 Ultron fights, and then we have Wags. So this fight here, Man-Thing, Luke Cage actually does absolutely nothing for this fight. In fact, I would argue he's not even that good for it. However, Wags kind of solves the problem because Luke Cage does not have any way of inflicting slow without knocking the defender down, which obviously would make them immune to slow. So what I have to do is I have to play with Wags, hit him while he's stunned, and if I have any postules or dex on me that can be nullified, or I guess for dex just expire. Actually, no, I guess that applies for postules too. I'm just going to only hit during the stun. And that's the strat. One time early in this fight, I do get countered going for 3 light attacks into the parry stun from Wags. Later in the fight, it's the same thing is going to happen, but I'm not going to get countered. So I think the first time I just didn't react fast enough. But of course, I did have an invuln boost going for this fight. And this was between the 2 fights on this path. This is the one I was less worried about. So obviously it's going to be a little bit long. Stealthy is just objectively a better counter to this fight. He does this. The fight would be over a round right now because you don't even have to throw an L1. You just do your heavy at the start of the fight, dash back, wait for the debuff immunities to go away. You get your fury up, and the fight just goes down, and you never lose tactic. It's very, very straightforward. But weren't able to send Stealthy. Although my alt does have a max Stealthy, and I'm sure I will be using him at some point this season, for the other fights, Luke made way more sense. For example, the second fight on this path, I think would have been extremely scary with Stealthy. I would not have ever sent Stealthy to that fight, but I would send Luke, and you'll see why. Because it's an Enchantress on heavy hitter, and the tactic shuts down her reflection damage. However, because she's not tactic, you can't get debuffs with Stealthy. You can only get, what, 1, and I guess 2 if you run Resonate. So here, the fight's almost going down. Did take a little bit long, but don't worry, we are going to get our invuln boost to carry over into the next fight, and then the burst damage on this L1 does go ahead and finish that fight off in a little under 2.5 minutes. So we'll go on to our next fight here. We have Enchantress. We are also using Wags here. Wags here is very important for the strategy that I will be doing. I was assigned this fight and I was scared. However, I went over the fight so many times in my head and I thought up a strategy where basically if she starts with miss at the beginning, which is like happens 99% of the time it seems, if she starts with miss at the beginning, I am just going to parry her like crazy, throw lights into her miss, because the chances are I will still get quite a few debuffs. There I waited for the miss to expire, and then we are going to hit her with a heavy. Unfortunately, I did not have any, or not any, I did not have enough debuffs at that point to inflict a slow, but we're still okay. And then there, that was a 50% chance for a slow. Still didn't get it. I'm gonna wait here, gonna throw our heavy. Now we have a slow. So now we can counter heavy attacks. And the strat for this fight was to just push her to L3 because, again, we do have an invuln on. However, I did take hits. At the very start of this fight, I took a couple hits when I was in the corner. Our invuln boost is gone. However, it's Luke Cage. Bro's tanky. He has physical resistance. This is just going to tickle us a little bit. Yeah, we're still at, what, 76%. We have slow up. We're dealing damage. The Fury just came down, or I guess just got inflicted. We're doing really good damage, and as long as we don't allow too much reflection. There, I knew I would get hit. I did that on purpose, and I do think it was the smart thing to do. There was a 75% chance for that L1 to inflict a slow. It just didn't activate because it's 25% per debuff, and she had 3 debuffs, but that's okay because she's actually going to go down right here. We do have this same section 1 next war. We have both Enchantress and Man-Thing on the same nodes with Luke Cage, and I have Wags pre-fight. So now that I've done both of the fights a little bit, hopefully I can improve upon them slightly. But we'll go over to section 2 here, and we have this thing. It's not really on a node that's going to do anything, so we are going to heal up Luke Cage a bit. Going to use it that so we save a couple potions, but obviously we're still going to heal him a bit. So I think that's going to be the only pot we use. Luke kind of works really well for thing here because the heavy attack inflicts a slow when you have some exhaustions up, and we are going to go for L2s in this fight to put on concussions, which are going to prevent both rock stacks and protection from ever triggering. So as long as we get up 2 concussions, neither of those are ever going to trigger. So yeah, we do throw our L2 with 11 exhaustions, which is quite a lot. And you'll notice that even when the protection icon comes up, the damage will not be resisted here. Here we go for another heavy attack to reset our slow, because I noticed he was getting close to 11 rock stacks. Why do we only have 1 concussion? I don't know. But now we have 2. That's weird. Because I definitely threw my L2 with... Huh. I don't know why that is. In fact, I don't even care. L1, sure, he's at 14 rock stacks. We still have slow up. He goes down. Little over a minute. I kind of understand placing a champion-like thing there to split the path, but it didn't work. Obviously, I'm going to use the same champion for both fights. And I was actually wrong about what my section 2 was. For some reason, I thought I went over to path 2 and took Domino, but I think that was last war. I think that was war number 2 that I did that, and I think Ultron here is only for 1 mini-boss fight, and we have Luke Cage for 7 fights. But something I didn't know, and the officer also didn't know, is that when Wong throws his L1, he is actually going to... I forget what it is that he does. It's Purify. He purifies 1 debuff, so... he is going to get some Energize. However, it just doesn't matter. Like, it's Wong. We're going to bait out the L1. Here we pushed L2. Doesn't even matter because the L2 is only unblockable when he's unstoppable. And 1, he didn't charge heavy. 2, he had slow on him, so he was never going to go unstoppable. Here, we are just looking out to make sure that we kill him below a bar of power. So there I could have comboed him when he was at 2%, but I did choose to wait. And that is just going to make sure that this next fight, Werewolf, starts with no Fury and no power gain passive. So that's great. Werewolf by night here. Pretty straightforward fight. We are just going to try to get as many debuffs up as we can to reduce the healing with Despair, and also back off occasionally to let it expire. But if we end up getting ruptures on this fight after the very start, they're going to deal no damage because we're just going to get a ton of debuffs here. And whenever he howls, we just get a free opening. So I don't mind that at all. Unfortunately, in this fight, he is going to throw his L1. I do prefer to bait Werewolf's special 2. However, I am blocking the first hit of Werewolf's special 1 for a couple reasons. Number one, I'm not 100% confident in the spacing for countering or for full dexing it. And number two, it gives me a rupture, which heals me. So there's really no reason to do it. Here, I catch a combo to the face. Maybe not the smartest thing to do in the world, but that's okay. Go for heavy here, get a couple debuffs up. I think we bait this L1, block it. There, I did not get ruptured, unfortunately, as it would have healed us up quite a bit. But we go for another L2, and as long as we keep just throwing specials, this dude is going to go down. And one more L2. Boom. Fight over. Pretty happy with how that went. There are some tricky champions that you can place on that node, such as Lady Deathstrike, who does not have her regeneration rate reduced, which means Despair does not work, and the enhanced regen is going to be very, very potent. So you essentially just have to send someone that can do a lot of damage over time and dash back whenever you can. But this fight here, Prowler, this is probably the fight that Luke Cage makes the least sense for, because he does not counter Prowler in any way at all. However, Luke Cage is a tanky man, and he also does a lot of damage. So we are going to put our trust in him, and we are just going to take this Prowler as if it's a normal fight. The root is going to activate, I believe, once in this fight. However, it's going to be much simpler than I thought going in, because I was overthinking this fight a lot, and I think I did throw in an invuln for it, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we're going to go for a heavy attack, bait the L1. Can't counter after. However, with how long Prowler's special attacks are, if he throws the special immediately after you hit him to reset the root timer, then you will have enough time after the special ends to not counter the L1, and you will have time to reparry or bait out a heavy. And there, our invuln boost is being absolutely wonderful for us. But we are just hitting like an absolute truck. Go for this heavy attack. I don't even need to bait another special. This L1 is going to kill. And yeah, pretty happy with that. Left at 1%, but it did stun. Had it not stunned, I was, I think, only at 7 block charges, so I could have just parried and reparried. And yeah, we would have been okay there. No risk to that fight. Let's go on to this mini-boss island where we have one fight. We are taking Wolverine Weapon X with Ultron. And I've actually taken this Wolverine Weapon X in War 1, and what I did choose to do is I chose to put on the bleed and poison suicides and just nuke it, and I think it took about 40 seconds, even though it was a rank 3 7-star Wolverine Weapon X. We are going to play this one slightly differently. Mostly I just didn't want to waste units swapping to the bleed and poison masteries, and then for my next fight, swapping right back. I just didn't really see the point in doing that. So what we are going to do in this fight, for one of the first times ever, because this is usually not how I fight Weapon X, we are actually going to let his, whatever it's called, the frenzy mode or whatever it is, we're going to let it fall off, which, like I said, is not something I usually do. And the reason is because at one point in this fight, I look up, and with all the regen he has, and even though Hazard Shift is being reduced, like the duration's being reduced, we were about even on the health race. And I was just thinking, it's let's just hold it. You know, let's just hold it. Let's just dash back. He is about to lose his charges. We are going to get a parry there. And now all of this hit damage is not getting regenerated, which is amazing because that is just going to allow us to go ahead in the health race. And we are going to actually do quite a lot of damage before he starts to build charges again. And we are going to be able to kill him before he even gets to his next set of Unstoppable and Unblockable. So, yeah, pretty happy with how this fight went. Pretty happy with how I slow played it. Had he thrown an L1 right there when I hit that parry, I would have just dexed it, waited out the Unstoppable, and then killed him because he was so low that he wouldn't have been able to regenerate the hit damage in time. But, yeah, no risk there. Did lose a little bit of health to DOT, but to be fair, out of literally every single Hazard Shiv node, that is the second worst one for Ultron to take. I'd say the worst one is probably Path 9, Section 1, the first fight. I mean, you are immune to poison, but whenever the Incinerate will trigger on you, the opponent does get a big Fury. So, from, I think the node's called Schadenfreude, something like that. And yeah, Mysterio, this is one of the other fights that was assigned to Stealthy, but I thought Luke Cage would be okay. And I'm going to make one pretty massive mistake in this fight, and that is the fact that I'm going to forget I don't have an invuln. I threw on an invuln for Prowler thinking it would last for all 3 fights, and I actually did check, so I knew it was not active here. However, my mentality when I was planning this war was so focused on me having an invuln for this fight that I didn't really want to deal with his L2, and he is going to throw it twice while I was not trying to bait it because it is unblockable on this node. But my plan was to push him to L3, and I think right here, yeah, he's going to throw the L2 before I have the chance to stop him. So obviously that does drain my power, which sucks, but it does give me some healing, which is cool. And I did tell you I'm going to make one huge mistake in this fight, and you're about to see it. So we are going to combo here. In my mind, I still have an invuln boost on, and to be fair, had that L1 stunned, he would have been dead. But we are now eating an L3 from Mysterio with all of the attack boosts that he has acquired from the Aspect of Evolution node, and it's actually going to leave us at 27%. Now, the fight is done. Even when he threw that special 3, I was not scared it was going to kill me because, again, it still left me with, what, 35 to 40,000 health, because Luke Cage has 140,000 when he's max boosted. But, yeah, a little bit of a mistake there because I forgot I didn't have an invuln on, but we're cool. We're cool. Nothing went bad, luckily. So, this war was very strange. When I took my fights and I was finished all my fights, we were ahead by a score of 3-1. And I took my fights in the afternoon, and then right before I went to bed, I checked the score, and the score was 3-3, which means we had died 2 more times. At that point, we still had about a 20-fight lead on exploration, so I was still hopeful. Unfortunately, they did not die again. They did end up clearing with 3 deaths, and we died 3 more times. One of our deaths was in like the last 2 fights or something like that. It was really unfortunate. But we did end up losing this war 6-3, which sucks because at one point in the war we had a 3-1 lead and a lead in exploration, and we choked it. So, a little bit unfortunate, but GG's to XK9. They were actually also 0-2 on the season because, like us, they've had really brutal matchmaking so far this season. But we did get a nicer matchup in War 4, and it does look like we are on a good pace to win at this point. So, unfortunately, we are 0-3 on the season, but we are looking to turn that around very soon. With only 10... Is it 10 wars in this season? I forget. I feel like it's reduced again. I honestly don't remember how many there are, but whatever it is. We basically just need to win as many as we can from here on out. So I still have just one death on the season. My main is at 1 and my alt is at 0. My overall PSR between my two accounts is at 33 out of 34 or 97% solo rate. My main is at 14 out of 15 and my alt is at 19 out of 19 so far. My overall deathless streak is at 32 fights, 13 of those from my main and 19 from my alt. So that is going to be all for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video, which should be one of my craziest war videos of all time, because as of right now, between my two accounts, I have 19 fights assigned to me. So literally the maximum you can do. My main has 10 and my alt has 9. So hopefully it works out like that. But that is going to be all for today. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you later. Bye.